Good morning, everybody. Brian Newbert here from GoldandBlack.com. Here with kind of one foot out the door this morning as I get ready to go catch my flight to Arkansas for tomorrow's Purdue exhibition game against the Razorbacks. Making for a convenient topic for today's GoldandBlack.com Purdue Basketball Daily. Purdue's visit to Arkansas tomorrow for its exhibition game, as I just mentioned, and I'm just repeating myself already. A couple things to look for in this game tomorrow. I understand that it butts up against the football game. I understand that it's a niche streaming service you have to watch it on. I understand there's no radio, so you might not be able to see, hear, or process the game as you might normally. But here are a couple of things to look for. And we will obviously have total coverage from this thing tomorrow, even if it's up against the football game. So be sure to check our site out tomorrow night, and we will have everything, hopefully, that you could ever want in terms of knowing about what happened for Purdue at Arkansas. Anyway, a couple things to watch. Pressure, Purdue's handling thereof. I think that, Matt Painter always tries to get a game like this on the schedule this time of year simply for the purpose of diversity of experience. I think, Purdue has a reputation for not being great against pressure. I would argue nobody looks good against presses, and you get pressed when you're good enough to be up 15 points with 5 minutes to go. That said, I don't think they're ideally necessarily built to get pressed sometimes. Last year, the guards were young, things like that. So maybe there were some times where, Purdue wasn't great. You can still use all the help you can get, all the work you can get against this sort of thing. Purdue puts a lot of time into it in practice, based on my observations. And this is one of those games where, Arkansas is always high pressure. They're always athletic. They're always long. And I think this will be a great experience for Purdue in that regard. It's the reason Purdue's always got a West Virginia or a Cincinnati or a Marquette on their schedule. It's because Matt Painter really values this sort of early season look, because you never know what you're going to run into later in the season, things like that. And you want to sharpen the knife best you can this time of year. And I think this will be a great experience for Braden Smith, an even better experience for Lance Jones, the Ethan Mortons of the world, the Fletcher Lawyers of the world, kind of things like that. So that's the first thing, really. And then the second thing is, we've been talking all off season about Trey Kaufman-Renn and Ross-Ade playing together. How much does Purdue try to do that? How does it work? Against a presumably smaller, more athletic Arkansas team, can they guard out of those lineups? We've talked a lot about how it functions offensively, but as importantly, if not more importantly, can they guard out of those lineups? And I do think Purdue's committed to it. I do think Purdue is invested pretty heavily in it, and we will see how it goes starting tomorrow. Third, obviously, how does Matt Painter distribute the minutes? The biggest question for me, the broadest question for me going into a game like this is, how much does Purdue bend over backwards to win this game? Everybody wants to win, right? But when Purdue in the past has had these closed scrimmages, these private scrimmages, it's been much more about the experience than the outcome. And, I think the dirty little secret is that a lot of coaches would rather their teams get tweaked and motivated and angered by defeat than they would be, satisfied with winning. So I don't think Purdue is going to shut down the program if it loses this thing tomorrow. I don't know if it's gonna bend over backwards to win this thing tomorrow, but I think it's a classic experience, classic situation where you run everybody out there, you see how they do, and if it costs you the game, it costs you the game. So how many minutes do they try to get Camden Heide out there? How many minutes do they try to get Miles Colvin out there? What kind of atypical lineups do you end up going with? How do you use Ethan Morton? How do you use Lance Jones? Stuff like that. I would expect, this is just my personal expectation, I guess more than anything, I don't know for a fact, but I think your starting lineup is probably Ross-Ade, Trey Kaufman-Renn, Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Lance Jones. So how do they how do they kind of configure their rotations, their minutes distributions, things like that, and do they substitute to win? Do they manage this game to win, or do they just say we just want the experience and we're going to be a better team coming home from Arkansas than we are departing for Arkansas? Um, and then the last thing I just wrote down here, I actually did put a minute of thought into this before I hit record. Shooting. Nothing that happens tomorrow from a shooting perspective is going to represent enduring reality. What you do in an exhibition game, even if it's a high-level exhibition game in a fervent environment, is going to represent enduring reality the rest of the season. Just because you make shots at Arkansas or don't make shots at Arkansas, that doesn't mean that's going to be what you are in January, February, March, and so on. But this is Purdue's first opportunity to kind of shake off its last impression from last season when Purdue, did not shoot well. It was not confident for some reason. And I would anticipate this being one of those games where Arkansas, who is probably, given the environment, given the cause, all of that stuff, Arkansas is probably going to take the outcome of this game pretty seriously. They've probably prepared for this game like it's an NCAA tournament game, that sort of thing. That's probably overstatement, but I just think they're going to be more motivated to win this game than Purdue might be. This is going to be an environment, and this is going to be Purdue's first opportunity to, make shots in such an environment. This is going to be Purdue's first opportunity. My point before I started rambling was that my expectation here would be that Arkansas is going to be the first of many teams this year that is going to try to gang guard Ross-Ade and make other people beat you with threes. That's how Fairleigh Dickinson, upset Purdue last season, as you've probably heard by now. And you just wonder if that's not the template people are going to default to against Purdue this season. This is going to be the first opportunity this year, even if the game doesn't count, for Purdue to build some confidence, to experience some success or experience some not success, and kind of go from there. I think Purdue is a skilled enough shooting team to be a good shooting team. I think they'll be a better shooting team than they were last season, but it's a game-to-game deal. It's you would like to be consistent enough to guarantee yourself a baseline every game of percentage-wise, but it's that bottoming out that always scares you, and it's going to be important that Purdue be confident more than anything. So if Purdue's able to make some shots in this environment, maybe it hits the ground running for Honolulu, for Arizona, for Xavier, for all these other games coming up, and then if you keep building on success, that carries you into the Big Ten, and so on and so forth. It's just a matter of confidence. It's a matter of generating the right shots, and it's a matter of making enough of them to make people pay for whatever they're going to try to do to Ross-Ade. So that's what I got. I just want to remind you all, I'm going to Arkansas, as I mentioned. I will have full on-site coverage tomorrow, video, interviews, a rap video, written analysis, things like that. Lots of coverage. Even though it butts up against the football game, I understand our site's going to be a dumpster fire tomorrow in terms of stuff being all over the place. But this game is not on mainstream television. You have to subscribe to SEC Plus on ESPN to get it. I'd imagine a lot of you will do that. There's no radio coverage. So for a lot of you, I'm all you got. So be sure to stay tuned to GoldandBlack.com tomorrow night for everything you will want to know about this game, even though it doesn't count. So thanks, everybody.